Coming up on this episode,
we had a big client that did like big, large events around the world that they kind of shut down. So it was shifting to everything suddenly went very still. But then all of a sudden, those CEOs that we were kind of our targets, they were home, away from their office, away from their day-to-day. So like, I need to think about marketing. Or was a construction company. They do tenant improvement, and suddenly a female CEO, and suddenly she had all of her work was stopped, but she didn't want to stop, and there was no stopping her. So she's like, I would not able to capitalize when we do come back. How capitalize on that, and how can we share our story? And that became a defining moment.
And I think their choice to lean in to marketing during challenging times, I think says a lot too about those organizations, because sometimes it's easy to react. I'm like, oh, when things get tight or there's a downturn, it's like, okay, pull marketing, like cut back. But really leaning into, okay, well, how can I tell the story? How can I think about doing business differently?
welcome to the Leading Peers podcast. I'm your host, Leo Popik, the founder and CEO of Leading Peers, the community for CEOs to connect, collaborate, and grow. On this show, you will listen to some of the most amazing CEOs share their personal stories and the lessons they've learned along the way about leadership and life. Let's dive in. And hello, I am joined here in the Leading Peers podcast by my good friends, Steve Dobbins and Jason Leon-Baptista, two guys that are not only friends, but they happen to be amazing to work with. And I tell them every time we meet, they are part of the Dobbins Group. They lead the Dobbins Group, and they have been Leading Peers' marketing agency since 2021. We've worked together for almost 5 years, and they've helped us build the company we are together. Steve and Jason, I'm so happy to have you guys on the Leading Peers podcast.
Well, we are thrilled to be here, Leo.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Awesome. I can't wait to learn more stuff that I already know about you guys, because there's so much to your story about the entrepreneurial story you guys have been building, and so many leadership lessons. But let's just start big picture. Tell our audience, our members, people that listen to the podcast, what the Dobbins Group is today and how many clients you're helping, or some of the clients that you're working with, or some of the most amazing work you're doing, so they understand, the magnificent company that you are, beyond your claim to fame being that you work with the Leading Peers.
I mean, I don't know if we can top that.
You're only client, yeah. So it's like client, yeah. So we're the Dobbins Group. We are a full-service marketing agency that covers everything from website development to marketing strategy to SEO, digital strategy. We have videographers, but really what we are at the heart is storytellers, brand storytellers, who help work with CEOs and their teams to develop a marketing strategy and then execute on that. And we have a super diverse clientele, everything from Leading Peers and organizations like Leading Peers and other professional development clients, all the way through to construction and venture capital. So kind of across the spectrum.
Awesome. Jason, wanted to add anything to that?
I think you covered it. Yes.
Okay, cool. So tell us the backstory. How did the Dobbins Group turn out the way it did? How did it start? How did it evolve? Tell us a little bit about how you guys got here.
For sure. So I always like to go back to my career. And again, I said we're storytellers. I have a journalism background. Jason is an actor with an MBA. And everyone on our team has some kind of connection to telling great stories. So mine really originates, it was journalism all through college. I thought I was going to go work for a major newspaper. Realized that was probably not for me. I really enjoyed more the management side of things. So right out of college at the University of Texas, I got an internship. I didn't even know what the company was, but it had it sounded kind of interesting. It was a global company out of Dallas, and it turned out to be Young Presidents Organization, YPO, which for me as a 21-year-old coming out of UT was just a bunch of businessmen. That sounds horrible. I immediately fell in love with them. So I got the internship, became full-time within a month later, and spent the next 9 years working with YPO and working side by side with CEOs. Loved it. Left when I was about to turn 30 because I wanted to live on the West Coast. Came out here and started my own company, and YPO followed as far as became my first big client. So Over the next 12 years, YPO was still a part of my life, but I was running an agency and I was doing all of their international events, working really closely with some of the smartest, most successful YPOers on projects that weren't necessarily about their business, but they were about, collaborating, but allowed me to like really interact closely with those CEOs. After running that agency, YPO invited me back to become their chief marketing officer. And I held that position for 7 years. So really for the first 20 plus years of my life, it was YPO, and it was working closely with those CEOs. So when we founded the Dobbins Group, coming up on 10 years, we're starting our 10th year, so 9 years, we kind of looked at what differentiates us and what do we love doing. And part of that was like, how can we stand out and not just be another market? And we started with that relationship of that network we had of YPOers around the world and Vistage members and EO members, and kind of having that understanding of what it makes it tick. Yeah. I mean, every marketing agency can build a strategy, but we felt comfortable and really kind of understood what it's like to sit in that CEO position and have to create a strategy and have to grow a company and grow a team. So that really became our sweet spot from the very beginning, and was we want to work with CEOs and help them tell their stories. And it's evolved into something that, much bigger than we dreamed of that 10 years ago, to now pretty much exclusively our clients, we work, or at least have a direct link to the CEO. So we, the companies we work with allow us to have that relationship, and we really flourish on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what makes us unique is to be able to kind of have that mindset of working from a strategic level, and then we have the marketing department of the Dobbins Group to really execute on that. My background, I'm economics, very entrepreneurial. After undergrad, I opened up a series of retail stores up in Montecito, moved to LA. We phased out of that business, went back and got an MBA. But really at the heart of all of the kind of the entrepreneurial journeys I've been a part of it has been about the story of the business. So when Steve and I joined forces, I was working at an agency in Austin. And then he was transitioning, and we just started having some conversations. And we're like, well, why don't we just branch out on our own and just join forces? And it was back in 2016. And that's what we took a leap of faith and have been organically building it over the past 10 years.
Well, that's amazing. And the one thing that stood out to me when you guys were first brought to my attention by Nick Aracco from the CFO Alliance was the fact that you understood the CEO organizational space, the CEO network, the CEO community space from your experience working with YPO of so many years, and also with Vistage. I wanted a marketing agency that understood the unique characteristics of the space and had that niche expertise. And what I didn't know that I later found out is that you guys are super strategic in the way you see an organization. And so I thought I was getting an agency to do our website, and I ended up having a chief marketing officer all bundled into the agency that would execute. And to this day, you guys are our fractional chief marketing officer as well. So love that ability to talk about big picture, everything we're trying to achieve, and then being able to decide together who does what, who produces our podcast, who does our LinkedIn, and having you guys execute much of that and having other partners execute other parts of that. That flexibility has been really, really valuable as well. Well, I want to talk about defining moments. Like, what were some of the things you went through, some of those breakthrough moments, or even perhaps a setback that shaped the way you guys lead today?
It's great. We were actually talking about this earlier, and I think really the pivotal moment, I think, in our business, the Dobbins Group, where we took a big shift, like many, was during COVID. We were already a virtual organization, so it didn't affect us in the way that, like, oh, we're not going to the office to do this, to have face-to-face meetings. But it did impact our clientele. So we had a big client that did like big, large events around the world that they kind of shut down. So it was shifting to everything suddenly went very still. But then all of a sudden, those CEOs that we were the kind of our targets, they were home, away from their office, away from their day-to-day. So like, I need to think about marketing. I've had this on my like checklist of things to do for a decade and haven't ever really devoted time. And we started getting clients, and it was referrals based. And I was like, oh, while I'm sitting here, our first one that I really remember was a construction company. They do tenant improvement, and suddenly a female CEO, and suddenly she had all of her work was stopped, but she didn't want to stop, and there's no stopping her. So she's like, I will not capitalize when we do come back. Capitalize on that, and how can we share our story? And that became a defining moment. And we had 4 or 5 of those during the shutdown. They kind of came into our lives that are still in our lives. And they've all led to like, much bigger, broader things.
And I think their choice to lean in to marketing during challenging times, I think says a lot too about those organizations, because sometimes it's easy to react. I'm like, oh, when things get tight or there's a downturn, it's like, okay, pull marketing, like cut back. But really leaning into, okay, well, how can I tell the story? How can I think about doing business differently? I think when we came in, and there were also really innovative initiatives coming out of this. So in the construction space, it was, return to work. How do we think about like repurposing offices? What does that look like? What does the future of work look like? And so from a strategic standpoint, we really able to kind of help shape the strategy of where the business was going, but also rethinking about how are we telling these stories. And that just started happening in various industries in COVID as we were coming out of COVID. And those things like that have really shaped the trajectory of the Dobbins Group. Like, we necessarily weren't like, oh, we're going to be like the go-to construction agency, but we ended up carving out a space. And what we found that we loved is, as we're going into kind of some of these industries like construction, where they're like, okay, it could be maybe not as like glamorous, or like what stories are there to tell? There's so many stories. And then our client up in San Francisco, for instance, like, 4th generation construction company out of Santa Clara, but built most of Silicon Valley. And we've been like kind of capturing all of their builds over the past 4 years. And when we went up there, it was like, oh, you're building the Stanford Hospital, you're building the bridge, you're building the fabric and the structure of our society. Just think about all the lives that are saved in that hospital that you're building. And so we kind of leaned in and really got to tell those stories visually. And so that became an opportunity for us to think differently about like, oh, what about these kind of unrepresented markets where maybe storytelling isn't top of mind? And I think also from a strategic standpoint, we were able then to see like, okay, you've been able to kind of grow your business organically in this region for 65 years, but as you're looking at expansion, people don't know you in different regions. So we kind of use that as kind of a way to help them develop their go-to market strategy. And I think, they're almost about to hit $1 billion. So
wow,
really helping them think. And I think also a generational shift too, because I think the previous generation of leadership didn't really think about marketing as like, oh, maybe we really don't need this, but they've also really leaned into it as a way to develop talent, retain talent, position themselves at a place that people want to be a part of. So not necessarily like, oh, we're trying to acquire new clients, but we're also looking at it as like, how are we telling our brand story to attract the best talent that we can.
Yeah.
And
Love
I think
that.
moving through that, we kind of learned as we went and kind of carved out those spaces.
It's amazing that you guys have clients from the very startup that's just getting off the ground all the way to $1 billion plus companies nowadays. The range that gives you, and at the same time working with CEOs of companies of all those different sizes. One of the things that stood out to me immediately when we started working together back in 2021 was when you presented a script of what the story we needed to tell was and what our homepage of the website would say. I was like, they have a gift for putting in the words exactly what we want to convey. And I've had people say, I'm at this networking breakfast because I got an email, and I can't believe I actually booked a ticket from an email. Like, I never even pay attention to things that are hitting my inbox that I don't know who it's coming from. But there was something about the way the email was worded that stood out to me, and I'm here and I'm so happy that I came. So, and I can relate to your story about COVID because, of course, we started working during COVID, and my whole life was appended by COVID with my events company being on standstill. So I can absolutely relate. Well, I want to pivot toward leadership lessons because you guys have gotten to work with so many CEOs from the 20 years in YPO and the time with Vistage all the way to working now with clients of all these different sizes and industries. So tell us, what is the one leadership lesson you learned? If you had to extract one leadership lesson you learned from being in all those boardroom sessions or strategy sessions with those CEOs that you admire, look up to.
I think what immediately comes to mind for me is that we're all humans first. So whether you're sitting across from a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or the new temp who just came on board is working the front desk, we're all humans first. They all have a human story, and they all have things that are going on behind the scenes. And to acknowledge that, not to dwell on that, you've all got business to do, but to acknowledge that and to, interact and treat and live into that who we're working with. And I think that speaks to all of our relationships with our clients and with our team. We come as humans first, and we're interested, and we got a lot of work to do, but we're also interested in what's going on in your life and what makes you tick and how we can all have the best lives possible at the end of the day.
Yeah, and support each other. I feel like, when I think about servant leadership or leading into that, is so important because at the end of the day, the work that we do, the people that we serve, we're all here to some way make a difference, to use our gifts to support each other and to contribute to the greater good. And I think that starts with the individual, and then it goes into obviously the company, and then the trickle out effect. But with the Dobbins Group, I think it's such a gift because we have the best team. We love them. We love the work that we get to do together. But it's always the person first and family. Like if something comes up, if a kid's sick, like everyone knows, like the work always gets done. If you can't do it now, like whatever, like we'll figure it out. But always leading with that humanity, I think. And then also, I think another leadership lesson is, I think when you're grounded in a sense of purpose and you know what you want to achieve, and it gives you the ability to navigate uncertainty in a graceful way. So when things become uncertain and rocky, I think be able to navigate and hold that space and to kind of create that kind of even keel of like, okay, like maybe, things are a little bit murky right now. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to navigate this together. And I think, always having those clear lines of communication and transparency makes everyone feel seen and heard and supported. And I think from whether it's we're building a culture like that, the way that we work with our clients, and the way that we show up in the world, I think all of that comes together. That comes down to we're the person first. We're all people.
I love that response, and it's unexpected and different at the same time from what most would have answered about leadership lessons from a CEO. But it's so true to who you guys are, and it brings me back to when we first started working together. And I was in 2021. I was working from home. My home office was right next to my wife's, so she could even overhear some of my calls, and she could see my voice level go up in the meetings with you guys. And she was like excited to feel my energy. And so she would walk in the room sometimes and you guys would say hello to her and she'd say hello to you guys. And I could sense that you really are a people first, people focused team and culture and organization. And that really stood out to me, that it took 2 years of working together, 24 months before we actually saw each other face to face and gave each other a hug. But we had been working together as a team from day one. And it's been 2 years since we last saw each other in person, but it still feels like it was yesterday. And so that warmth and that putting each other first as humans is something that I've really always valued so much about working with you guys. So that's actually the segue into where I wanted to go with the team. Where do you find people that have the culture, the values that you want to attract? More than where do you find them? What are those values that you look for? What is that element that people that want to work for the Dobbins Group have? And how do you build a culture where those people can thrive?
Yeah, I think we've been very lucky. When we started the Dobbins Group, again, we brought in the best and brightest from our careers. So we had an extraordinary network of being able to bring in people, and kind of pick and choose in the way that we were organized. A lot of them were freelancers, and they could come in and they didn't necessarily weren't full time. So that we immediately had a culture of a shared history and shared kind of values, and already had that warmth. Over the years, of course, we brought in people that we did not have that relationship with. But I think having that foundational of, again, we show up super authentic. I mean, we are ourselves, and we expect that of others. And we work hard. We lead by example. We work hard. We want everyone else to work hard as well, but we want to reward them, and we also want them to take care of themselves, because we work 18 hours a day, and you're going to run yourself on the ground. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. So I think it's, again, in the marketing world, it's a curiosity that we're looking for. We're looking for a understand the power story. And I think everyone in our team, coming from a different perspective, whether it's Michael, who's a web developer, or a graphic designer, or a copywriter, they're all kind of coming in with a different angle, but we're trying to tell a great story, whether it's through words, visuals, video, etc.
And I think everyone shares the commitment to excellence, and I feel that that's important to us, and we try to embody that as human beings, and what we do, and how we show up, and how we run our business, and everything that we do, we always come from the mindset of excellence for our clients. And I think that comes through everyone who's part of the Dobbins Group. And there's also, a sense of authenticity, like showing up as your full self, like who, and we celebrate that, and we want to help people continue to live into that. And so whether it's, helping develop new skills, like providing opportunities to learn new things, the Dobbins Group is a foundation for that. And I feel once people feel like we have such a cohesion, and I feel when people are part of a company where they feel supported, seen, they're doing good work, it creates a stickiness. And so I think we've had such a great experience with just the tenure of our team. And if people end up like transitioning, it's, usually also then it's like, here, so-and-so, I know so-and-so. And so it's always kind of like also an extension of, if we lose a team member, we always want people to feel that we're supportive and going on to like pursue other opportunities, but it's almost kind of like people like end up backfilling the role. They're like, but I know so-and-so who would also do a great job. So I feel like that's how we have kind of attracted talent in that way.
Love that. That combination of excellence and all those other human qualities that you guys are looking for. I want to segue into how you guys went about the relationship with us, with Leading Peers. When you and we met back in 2021, you guys were already established. You had your company for 5-6 years. You were during COVID with all this demand coming, as you were mentioning before, from CEOs that were focused more on the marketing, focusing more on what they could build digitally. You had choices, and you were very mature in your careers, and having worked as such amazing jobs at YPO, Vistage, other organizations. So what was it about Leading Peers that made you say, all right, we want to work with this company? What was it about the trajectory of working with us that made you want to continue doubling down and growing together with us, having so many choices where you don't need to just accept any client that walks through the door, and also with you guys investing so much of yourselves, that strategic element, that personal relationship you build with the CEO. What was it about it, and what can you tell our listeners about the experience of working with us, and I don't know, anything you might have picked up or learned along the way?
Oh, Leo, you're just looking for compliments. I immediately, no, I'm serious. Immediately, we clicked with you. I mean, we were just like, it's so funny. Like we have introductory calls, and this happens quite often, actually, we'll get off to college, look at each other, go, oh my God, I love him. You know, we say, oh my God. Occasionally it's the opposite. But I mean, I think there has to be a little bit of a chemistry. There has to be like, oh, this is a good person that's doing good things, and we would be a part of that.
But yeah, and I connecting to your vision. And also just being in the space and having a passion for the space. And I just remember like the original 6, like we started out with the original 6, you know, and that was like the foundation of leading.
Yeah, we had 6 members when we started working together.
Yeah, and I love, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we love building businesses and being part of that. And so, yeah, I feel like, you know, we were also fortunate enough to come along at that time where we were able to join forces and build something from the ground up, which is not always the case. Sometimes we come and establish companies, but to be able to kind of be a part of that, I think it felt very exciting for us to be a part of, and something that we believed.
We felt a real alignment with vision and with values and the way that, you know, we present out into the world with you and with leading peers. So it was a no-brainer to absolutely join the team
for sure.
And it's been so exciting.
And what you're creating and helping empower CEOs to be their best selves, so like to create the best businesses, then, you know, to create the best families and the world and the community. That's very exciting, and for us to be able to tell those stories. 4 years later, here we are.
Yeah, it's incredible, guys. And you just reminded me, we had 6 members, and they were in one group, one of our first board, and meeting online. And it's funny, that board, I actually am still their facilitator. They met this morning, believe it or not. I just come from that. And they have all this history of 5.5 years together. They've incorporated a couple people have rotated out over that period, but they've really stuck together, and it moved to in-person in 2021. But now, of course, speaking of, moved to in-person in the year 2021, but 21 is the number of groups we now have, and 19 of them meet in person in Orlando, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and of course, South Florida. We still have a couple online boards, so definitely have been in growth mode, and we're so excited about that. And I know you guys are building some things on our website right now for the regions to come, North Florida, South Georgia, North Georgia. We're so excited about what's next. Which leads me to want to know a little bit more about who's your ideal client? Like what companies does the Dobbins Group like to partner with? What do you look for nowadays in a CEO in terms of knowing, you know, you hinted at that in terms of like, are they doing good? Do we feel that they have the right, their values aligned with ours? Do we want to see them grow and triumph? But is there any other characteristic that you look for, a size, an industry, a location? What else defines like where you say, yes, this is right up our alley?
Yeah. Well, I feel like in terms of like a demographic, small to medium business has been the sweet spot for the Dobbins Group, just because we notice, you know, businesses who fall in that range necessarily don't have full functioning marketing departments. So there's a couple people trying to do all the things. So we've discovered that in those organizations, we could really provide the most value because we can show up. We can also serve as someone on our executive team can serve as a fractional CMO to really kind of help drive the strategy. But then the Dobbins Group becomes basically their extension of their marketing team. So instead of having a couple people try to be good at all the things, the value add just makes a lot of sense. And so when we are strategically going, for us, it's across industries, but I also feel like that part of it, when we focus on kind of the size of the business, is really kind of the sweet spot for us because we know the pain points of those type of companies, and that the Dobbins Group can really help serve in a very strategic way.
Which is interesting. That's the baseline, but you think of our construction company, which is a $500 million company, but they only had like 2 people doing marketing.
They had 2 people doing marketing.
So it was like,
but also I think it's in laggard industry sometimes where they necessarily aren't thinking about marketing in that perspective. So it's been also, something for us to explore because it's like in larger companies like that, it's like, oh, they're a $500 million company, but there's 1 person.
And I think in kind of the softer characteristics is, someone who's looking for a partner, not a agency just to come in and work for them, is to work with them. Mm-hmm. is really, that's what excites us. Yeah, we can do project work and we can get, whatever done. But that's not what we're going after. We're going after those relationships and allow us to, again, use our full team and use all of our strengths and different tools to help deliver on a strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that 100%. One of the things that really stood out to me after each meeting, you would say, we have our marching orders, right? That's your typical phrase. Like, now we have our marching orders. And I'm thinking to myself, did I give them any orders? Like, we were just brainstorming together. We were just like bouncing ideas around what would be great, what would be excellent, what would work. And then all of a sudden you knew what you had to do. So it never felt like, they're working for us. They're working with us is always the way it's felt.
And I feel like, we always want to have that relationship and kind of that open communication, even, when it comes down to navigating the difficult times. And like, I think even with clients and the capacity when we serve as kind of, a fractional CMO, agency, retainer partners, it's an ongoing conversation. So if the business is struggling and there's a downturn, it's not like, oh, we're locked into this like year-long contract, here's the retainer. It's like, oh, how can we navigate this together? And we always want like our clients to feel that we are there to support and to be part of that. And I think that's also something that differentiates us from a lot of other agencies, because it's just kind of like, okay, well, here's our contract and pay us. But, when things are tough, then, like we try to be agile in all areas of our business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you said that, Jason, I was remembering something that I had completely forgotten about. So after we started working together with you guys back in 2021, there was a moment where the big setup was finished. We had our website, we had a few other marketing assets, and the monthly retainer just seemed too high for our leading peers to sustain over time. And I was just like dying inside, because I'm like, I'm going to have to terminate the relationship, which is the last thing I want to do. And so I went to you guys and I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry, we can't sustain this retainer. And you're like, are you kidding? Let's just adjust the number of, the scope or the hours. Let's figure out a way to stay together. And it's been 4 years since we redefined, and every year we keep updating it, and that dialogue is there. And so I really have that. I know you guys are all about the value and not trying to sell your clients something. And the other thing I love is many times I'm in a dilemma. I'm a little bit of in a quagmire. I don't know where to go. And I'm getting direct advice. Like, Leo, I think this is going to work. Or, Leo, I would do it this way. And, when you hire like a fractional CMO, you don't want, an order taker. You want somebody that knows more than you, right, in their area, and is able to tell the CEO, like, this is going to work, right? And just give me that confidence that I'm lacking, because it's not my wheelhouse. And I don't know how you're going to execute. I don't know what you've seen with other clients and what you've learned in your space, because you're always immersed in that space. And so I just defer to you. I trust you. And every time it's paid off. Guys, let's move on to purpose and impact. Beyond profits and projects, what's the impact that the Dobbins Group is trying to make in the world?
It's kind of funny. We always lead people through a messaging workshop that ends with, so what does it matter?
So why does this all matter?
And I think for us, in everything that we do, whether it's our Dobbins Group or it's running marathons or it's how we show up in our communities, it is about making a difference and leaving the world a little bit better place. So in marketing, that's, we're thinking about all the companies that we're working with and what does their success look like, and how does that success impact the people that work there. And they're, I think there's always a bigger vision and a bigger, and I think the impact that we want to have is we want to help leaders live the lives they want to live, and to like really play it forward to their teams and and all their stakeholders. We get to play a part in that. We get to play a part in their successes and the good that they're doing. We believe in all of our clients. We believe in the work that they're doing. So, we have Partner Power in Atlanta, who is providing emergency power, which sounds boring, but they're saving lives. And I mean, what they do is literally saving lives. We get to be a part of that. Same thing, construction clients. Yeah, I think, being able to tell those stories, and not just to tell stories to tell stories, but to,
to make an impact.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
And I feel like when I think about storytelling, it's the most primal way that we connect as human beings is through the power of story. And so when I think about the concepts of connection and community and compassion, all of those things, they all come together, and we're able to do this through the ways that we tell stories and help businesses tell their stories. And it's just not telling stories for the story's sake. It's, all of the organizations that we serve, they're also providing a service and providing, solving problems and solving for pain points of the individuals that they serve. And we're able to well, how do we tell that story in the most effective way? Like, how do we understand what your target market is facing and their pain points, and how do we help you communicate that in a world where we always talk about the attention economy, and our job is to break through that, because our attention is so pulled in so many different directions, and that's really kind of in terms of the marketing space, a battle for that. And the way that we do that in the most clear, concise, and compelling manner makes a difference, because we're helping our clients grow their companies and they're scaling their impact. So I don't know, I feel like for all of us, it's we're aware of the interconnectedness of things, and it's here's how we can show up in our space to help kind of expand the impact that all of our work together is having.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I'm reminded every time I go into a board meeting, and I still run 8 boards myself. That's how much I love to see the impact of what we do. How many people are thriving? How many CEOs in our community are thriving? They're achieving their financial goals. Their business is achieving its financial goals, but they're also doing incredible work, and they're hiring great people and building great cultures, and they're just so happy with what they've achieved. We had one entrepreneur this morning, I'm not going to name her, but she said, I've got 3 wins and I have no challenges today. And you guys know I've always brought up challenges, but everything's amazing. And we all celebrated that. And we reminded her it's probably only going to last a couple weeks, but she should definitely enjoy that moment. And it's great to see everything that you guys are affecting for the better. Let's talk briefly about the marketing landscape. I mean, with artificial intelligence and everything we're going through, how do you guys help your clients stay authentic and effective in such a noisy world?
Or it's actually we published a blog about this last week. Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, ChatGPT can do everything and anything. How do we differentiate ourselves? So, the way we embrace technology and recognize the value that it can bring and how it can make us, so more efficient, so we can leverage our other skills. Storytelling. I mean, one thing that AI cannot do is come up with a unique idea. So it's taking all these amazing data points. But I think it's that human side of storytelling that gets lost a lot in the technology. So we have worked to harness technology and everything that we know about storytelling, bringing that to our clients. And again, making it, I mean, a client can always say, I can just have ChatGPT write my website, publish it. And yes, you could. But is it going to be the same website that every other person has or every other organization? So it's bringing those skills together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and about the ecosystem of market. It's such a vast ecosystem, right? From SEO to content marketing to videography to sales enablement to marketing sales alignment, all those things. For us, we always talk about it's an exciting space to be in. I know some people are like, "Oh, you guys are going to steal our jobs." I'm like, no, that's the wrong mindset. We obviously need to continue to upskill, but I feel as marketers, our role is to be stewards of the technology. And so for us, as we continue to expand and learn and grow and to understand kind of how the MarTech stack is shifting, it's our responsibility as an agency to work with our clients to help them to understand, here are the best tools that we can leverage together to create more efficiencies to drive the most value. And it's a very overwhelming space, because I feel like a lot of our clients are like, where the heck do I even begin to think about this, or how do I even start to integrate these tools? So we're always having those conversations based upon the needs of our clients, right? And so, from ChatGPT on one end to just really understanding like, customer data platforms on one end, where we're working with a division that has like retail stores, and they also have a B2B arm, and then there's a website. So it's really understanding, how do we understand all of the behaviors that are happening and communicate in a way that's timely and effective? And so for us, I think from the AI technology landscape is really continue to look at ourselves as the stewards of it. We don't have to be necessarily the creators of all the technology, but be able to have insightful recommendations on how we can integrate that into the work that we do with our clients on a case-by-case basis, because it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing.
Love that. And one of the things that's been so fascinating to me is you guys combine the experience with events with all the digital marketing experience. So a lot of our events we've had to do without your involvement, because you're in California, you're in LA, we're here in Florida, and all of our events have been in Florida to this day. We're doing 12 breakfasts next year. We're doing a gala dinner a couple of weeks from today. And we can't get you out this far because these are short events. And of course, we're 4,000 or whatever miles away. But you guys understand the value of live events and bringing people together from that amazing rich history that you've had going to so many events in the United States and around the world. And so being able to combine both of those is what I think in a service company really is where the magic happens, especially in a community like ours, right? People want to see each other across the screen. They also want to be able to once in a while come together.
And I feel, it comes down to back to connection. The human element of connection is like we have our digital life, but like the face-to-face connection. I feel like also with the Dobbins Group, when one of our clients in Vince Industry Council, so we serve in the same capacity. It's kind of the federation of all kind of business events and associations around the world. But really, the insights and the work that we get to do together, we really work on a lot of research projects that show the power of events and then the economic impact of this events. But it all comes down, but regardless, we'll never be able to replace the need for face-to-face interaction. And so as we think about immersive experiences, how do the hybrid experiences come together? It's an exciting space to be in because it's always changing. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you reminded me of the Events Industry Council. As you guys know, 17 years before I started leading peers, I led a company in the event space, and the Events Industry Council was the flagship organization, the umbrella that brought together all the global event associations that I was a part of, some of those like MPI, like SITE, the Society for Incentive Travel Executives. So, and I still have my company in that space, luckily delegated to a CEO that runs it, so I can put my heart and soul into leading peers. But it's amazing that you guys combine that, that full breadth from live events. What do you
saying that right now, because it's just like, I feel like it brings, sometimes you forget like all the different spaces that we work at, because with SITE and like we work with through EIC, the CEOs of all those companies, and we just threw this big global awards dinner or gala in Las Vegas to honor the champions of the global business events industry. And so it's such a gift for us because we get to work across industries with all of these people and learn and grow. And I think it just makes us better and smarter in all the different industries that we serve. But at the end of the day, I always go back to whatever we're doing. It's about like the power of human connection, and we get to do that through the power of storytelling.
Absolutely. Guys,
I was just thinking about, you came to us as a third degree referral. So you are a referral from a referral, and then you've referred several to us. We've been new clients, so now we have like 3 generations away from you. So again, it's that connection of good people doing good things and wanted to support each other.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad I referred you guys the times I've done it, because those people are thriving. They're super happy with you and building amazing companies. Well, that brings me to, coming up toward the end of our interview, the personal growth, which is such a pillar of what we're about, right? We're the community for growth-minded CEOs. So I want to pick you guys' brain. What's one habit or practice or mindset that keeps you guys as individuals grounded and growing as leaders?
Oh, I can open that. Yeah, I could start, but there's so many different ones. In terms of like a mindset practice, running has become such a pivotal part of my life. I grew up not thinking I could never do something like that, and I'm about to run my 12th marathon. My mindset, I've also finished an Ironman in South Africa, so it kind of had this mantra of like anything is possible. But like on my runs have become such a meditative space for me. Right now we're starting to train for the Napa Marathon, but when I'm out on my runs every week, we live in such a beautiful place. It's such a space to connect to nature, to connect to myself. And I call them my gratitude runs. And so when I'm going through a difficult time, or if I'm not going through a difficult time, I'm always able to tap back into that place of gratitude. And I think physically, it's something that becomes, I don't know, it's an interesting meditation, but I feel like that practice has impacted every area of my life, because I feel like just marathon training, the discipline, the intensity, you just show up and you do the work, how that's affected how I show up at the Dobbins Group, how I show up as an actor, and that commitment to a goal. And I would say, in the midst of all of that, it's always comes back to a place of gratitude for me.
You copied into it. But then what I would say, a daily practice that I have is when I wake up and I've got my first cup of coffee, and then before I open email, before I do anything, I do my gratitude list. So again, it's kind of, I'll let you center myself and think about the bigger picture. Sometimes work is in there, sometimes it's not. But I have my lists, and then I'll do a little bit of journaling. But again, it's really sets the stage before I dive into whatever else is going to happen throughout the day. And I think that's.
I love that, guys. Love that. You both said gratitude, and we cannot give when our hearts aren't already full, right? And gratitude is the easiest, the fastest way to fill our hearts, and then be able to, give based on all that joy that we feel. So I agree with you guys, and I feel your gratitude always, and it's awesome and inspiring. Guys, legacy, what are you hoping people will say about the Dobbins Group when you guys are no longer serving in the company, and it's a thing of the past? What do you hope people will remember the Dobbins Group for?
That we told great stories. That we lived great stories.
We lived. Yes. And I think by telling them, like, we have lived a great story. When I think about my path, I grew up on a farm in Northern California. I was a farm boy. My family's like, I don't think Jason's going to take over the farms. No, did not take over family farms. But really, everyone in my family, that's kind of was their life, and I was the first person to leave and go to college and get an MBA and kind of pursue this dream that I had. And the Dobbins Group is such an extension and a reflection of us as individuals. The vision that we have for the world, are the power of storytelling and the transformative effects of that. So, yeah, I think whether someone takes on the Dobbins Group or whatever the next iteration of the Dobbins Group is grounded in a sense of anything is possible. Like, we took a risk. Some things didn't work out. Some things, evolved in a way where it's better than we could ever dreamed of. And I hope that people can connect to that through the Dobbins Group.
Well, I love that, guys, and you guys are always on the road, on the go. You're always traveling the world, and you're building amazing stories and memories everywhere. Seems like every time we jump into a meeting, I want to spend the whole time we have allotted talking about your last experiences or travels. And I know you've taken a huge love for Argentina, of course, my native country, and you've spent many weeks working out of Buenos Aires. And now we have a shared history. We have a shared journey, and it's been amazing. Sometimes I have to remind Diane, you were the first employee, but the Dobbins Group was here. Jason and Steve were here before you started. So it's amazing that we're in the thick of it after so long, despite the distance, despite all the things that we've all had to go through, we've gone through. So guys, thank you for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and thank you for the amazing work you do for Leading Peers and for being my friends. Love you guys, love working with you, and stay well, and let's keep doing this. Vamos!
Vamos! That's awesome, David. Vamos!
Bye-bye.